So I started my career, and this story of mine has stayed with me as a milestone forever. This is now my 41st year into working. I passed out in 83 and joined Aisher from campus in Alwar. We didn't have fancy titles then, so we were all personal officers. We were all factory people, industrial relations, no corporate jobs, which seems to be what everyone wants to do now. And Aisher at that time was also way ahead in terms of people practices than anyone else in the country at that time. And we also had something called the Business Club, which was contributed by the management staff and the workers, where you had table tennis and cards and carom and stuff like that. And the union then said, listen, Navneet, why don't we plan a trip to Haridwar? We haven't done anything like that for a very long time. And I had just recently got married, and I was a weekend husband. So I used to take the Saturday evening Pink City to Delhi and take the Monday early morning Pink City back to Alwar. So, well, nevertheless, my manager, so manager was the biggest title in Aisher at that time. So you had the general manager who was boss, which was Subodh Bhargav, and the likes were all general managers. So we organized the buses, and then slowly, one by one, all the senior managers started dropping off. And I was left holding the can. And we had close to 10 buses with families and kids and workmen and all of that, and my team. So we sat in the bus and started this journey from Alwar to Haridwar. So if some of you are familiar with Delhi, we had to cross Ashram Chowk, and I used to stay in Siddharth Enclave, which was right off that. And everything seemed to be going right. So I told Ghansham, who was my personal supervisor, okay, I'm getting off here, I'm going home. Pick me up on the way back on Sunday night or Monday. I was barely 4 months or 5 months married. So, well, nevertheless, the buses went. We had dharamshalas booked and so on and so forth. Next morning, Monday morning, I go to the New Delhi railway station, get onto the Pink City second class, and I see tons of workmen, my staff, some with broken hands, feet, bandages, the whole 9 yards. I said, what the hell happened? He says the union started fighting amongst each other, the two rival camps, over who's going to get the bigger room, the smaller room. The wives got involved, and before you know, there was mayhem. Rods started flying. Believe it or not, I'm sorry, I'm going to be little. I shat bricks. I said, I am done with my life. And I was just barely 6 months into my 7 months or maybe 8 months into my job. And I reached Alwar, by which time word had spread like wildfire across all Aisher plants. From Faridabad to Parvanu to Alwar, we had 2 plants. Believe it or not, it was the worst feeling in my life. And I reached there, and Sandilya was the general manager who eventually became the managing director of the firm. And he calls me into his room. And this is what Aisha was all about. He said, Navneet, why were you not in the bus? Things would have been different. I said, I got married, blah, blah, blah. He said, that was most irresponsible for you, but nevertheless, we will sort it out. So my assistant manager HR and my manager HR, they were out to make a murga out of me. I remember the names, I won't take it. So now all the workers are sitting in the front lawn. Work is shut down. And I'm standing there as the officer, personal officer who was responsible for industrial relations. And I was the convener of the business club. Now, naturally, they all started saying, we want compensation for what's happened. We want whatever we contributed for the bus journey to be given back, blah, 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 blah. And out of pressure, in about 1 hour, I said, yes, we'll give everyone 32 rupees back. And matter finished, we killed it there and then and Everyone went back to work, and then the grilling started. Eventually, what happened? They never took the 32. They were all making an ass out of me. ये नया मुर्गा आया है, इसको cook करते हैं. But it was the biggest lesson of my life. If I was there today, I would have got sacked for sure. All of us would have got sacked for that incident. But Aisher being Aisher, they give me a single increment, and those days, 1983, a single increment was 4 rupees. Our salaries were 1100. And I got a reprimand formally in letter that you should not have done this, irresponsible, blah, 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 blah. But what it taught me that day, and I think that is the message I want to really give on this story, is be responsible for your lives. You need to be sure about what you're doing, and you need to be taking control of your lives. And I think that incident matured me beyond my age. I must have been, 21 or 22 at that time, or maybe 23 actually. I got married young. And that day till today, I mean, some of those union presidents are still friends. We still meet once in a while when I go down to Alwar. But it gave me such a sense of responsibility. It gave me such a sense of care that as managers, we will all grow up one day. We need to be caring for our subordinates. We need to be caring for our peers. We need to appreciate what our superiors are doing to us. And I think the biggest lesson I learned that day was be very humble, accept your mistakes, and do what you have to do right. And that, of course, held me steady through many, many decades of working. I eventually went to HSBC in New York. I was there for 2.5 years. Had no intention of staying back, and came back with no intention of ever working ever again. So I became a consultant. Like a lot of us HR guys who never had jobs became consultants. Did some freelance work for small company. Moser Bayer was a 50 crore company. Havel was a 20 crore company, which became very big eventually. And after a year, Heidrick & Struggles in the US, which is again a large consulting company, got in touch, joined them as partner number 2, stayed for 10 years, and then Korn Ferry now for over 12 years. I think what one has learned over a period of time, and I think this is going to be super, super important, at least for all of you who are going to go into this world in another 2 years' time. I'm assuming it's a 2-year course. And the world is changing way, way faster. In our times, it would change once in 10 years. And you were able to evolve yourself and move along. People who evolved survived. People who didn't evolve got discarded on the side. And that's what distinguishes a good manager from a bad, because I have a very clear thought process that no one is a bad manager. No one. It's only when we end up doing things which are way beyond our remit. Internally, inherently, we all know what we are. We know it. But in our endeavor to grow, you will always take steps which are way beyond your remit. And suddenly that good manager becomes a bad manager because you're bound to fail. Be very cautious in what you do, and very cautious in the moves that you make. Realize your own potential and play to that. Recognize your failings, your shortcomings, build on that, develop yourself. A lot of us always complain to our bosses, what is the company doing for me to grow? I have an opposite view on that. What are we doing to ourselves for us to grow? How many of us would have read the Economic Times this morning? I can guarantee you not more than 5%. Knowledge is all out there. It is for us to take it, to develop it, and to do something with it. I mean, I unfortunately got delayed by another 10 minutes because halfway down, I started getting calls from my clients in Bombay for 2, 3 things that happened, and I'm on a flight this afternoon, and they wanted a couple of solutions on what to do, and they were a little surprising in terms of what those incidents were, which I can't talk about, but it took me about 15 minutes to get the team galvanized to think about what to do, because I have to meet one of the promoters tomorrow. But the point is, people trust you, and you have to be very sure about yourself, and that surety will only come with your knowledge. And knowledge does not necessarily come only with experience. I mean, if you look at the larger ecosystem of the e-commerce or the startup world, most of them started off when they were 27, 28, 29 years old, and look where they are. So I don't think age has any criteria of knowledge and experience today. I remember when Flipkart started, I placed their first CFO, Sanjay Baveja, with Sachin and Binny Bansal. They were all of 27, 28. And they gave that man tons of money. Those were the days when stocks were given by the bagful. And Sanjay, who I knew from my Xerox days, was also my neighbor in DLF behind my house before he relocated to Bangalore. One day when I met him after about a month, he said, these guys have gone and committed to private equity that we are going to build warehouses which are millions of square feet all over the place. They've gone and committed leases. They've gone and done everything because, one, it wasn't their money. It was all private equity money anyway. And so I said, that's good for you. It's an easy, low-hanging fruit cleanup for you in the first couple of months, which is what he did. And he stayed on for 6 years. But the point is, he was 50 years old. Sachin and Binny were 28 years old at that time. And I am talking about 12, maybe 13 years ago. Whilst we will always be restless in ourselves to go ahead and do what we need to do, but please have a strong backbone based on your knowledge. The one criteria I use when we hire for our teams internally inside Korn Ferry is, do you have the ability to say no? Do you have a strong backbone if you know you're right to be able to stand up? Today, companies are looking for people who will not only contribute, but will also have the ability to say no when they know it is right. I have a very senior executive who's quit after 6 years with this promoter, which is amongst the top 5 companies in the country today. The promoter called me up and he said, listen, I've been talking to him, and the only reason he's given me is that his family cannot take the pressure. He's not been on leave, blah, blah, blah. Now, I couldn't tell the promoter on his face that he's actually leaving because of you. So I called up this group president. I said, kya hua yaar? We met 1 week ago, everything. He said, listen, Navnit, I've been telling you for 2 years, that I will not take this anymore. See, fortunately, in the last 10 to 15 years, a lot of people across sectors, across industries have made reasonable sums of money. In 40 years, our campus salaries of 1100 have gone up to 10, 15, 20, 30 lakhs today. With youngsters and their spouses working together, people are reasonably okay. I mean, there's never a definition of okay, but they reasonably can afford decent lives. But what people are not today tolerant of are bad vibes and bad communities within the companies that you work for. So therefore, you have to be very careful in what you do with your lives and how you contribute. Because the next decade, I can tell you, we all read about what's happening in the rest of the world, but how many countries globally are growing at 6.5, 6.8, 7%? What has unfortunately also happened, that we were always seen as a services sector, and that's how every engineer worth his salt went to the Wipros and the Cognizants and the likes of the world. Parents from the villages would save money to send their children to, even if it would be a tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 engineering company, paying 3, 4, 5 lakhs capitation, that my boy will get a Wipro job, he'll get 2, 3 lakhs and his life is set. But what's happened with the disruption in the last 2 years, especially in the tech world, those jobs don't exist. So every tech job with under 5 to 7 years of experience now is under scrutiny, if not dead. So if all the tech companies in this country were hiring 5 lakh youngsters, it's come down to a lakh. Now, what has this resulted in? On the other hand, you have the industrial manufacturing sector, which is growing so rapidly, but no one ever opted to take that as an engineering subject, and therefore you have no intake into the bottom of the pit today. And most companies today are struggling to hire people, especially in the new age industrial sectors, whether it is green, whether it is batteries, whether it is EVs, whether it is solar, whether it is hydrogen or whatever. So whenever you come out 2 years from today, I'm sure the world will be even more different with AI and Gen AI and data analytics and a whole lot of other pieces. So you have to evolve yourself. So use the next 2 years, please. Educate yourself. It's not only about your professors dinning class after class, case studies after case studies, but what are you going to do to upgrade your own knowledge and skills beyond what the institute is going to provide you? Because the market would have changed even more dramatically by then. And I think it's extremely important that all of you should take your own destiny in your own hands. I mean, the Great Lake Institute will give you the platform, it will give you the basis of being why you are here, but beyond that, it's your own life. I mean, we'll still party, we will still do whatever we have to do. I mean, going into college is always a great experience. With great friends, you will always end up meeting, partying and drinking and all of that. But on the other hand, the life ahead of you is far, far more important than the 2 years of your life that you need to sacrifice for yourself. So with that, thank you once again, and wish all of you all the very best in your lives. And I hope I get to see you one of these days when I need to place you out somewhere. Thank you.